good morning Facebook, good morning YouTube, good morning the world. Coming up on today's show, we have the incredible Jaqui Barnes-Monaghan from Bee Fab Academy and Naomi Johnson from the Profile Company. Good morning, Louise.
Well, good morning, Andrew. How are we this morning?
Very well, thank you. Very well. And nice to see we have another co-host on the show this week. So if anyone doesn't know Louise, it's our own Martin, what's his name?
Lewis.
Martin Lewis, our own energy saving expert as our co-host today. So welcome on board, Louise.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Great to be here.
Brilliant. Well, we've got a great show lined up today. Got two fantastic new guests. And if you're listening out there for the first time or as a regular, pop something in the comments and we'll give you a shout out. Like, I want to say a big shout out to Graham Bayliss, one of the top SEO experts in the country. So that's Graham Bayliss, everyone. And yeah, plenty coming up, haven't we, Louise?
Yes, definitely. And good morning, Graham. Not seen you for a while, so lovely to have you watch and listen in.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you do have any questions, pop those in the comments for our guests. Let's say we got you're going to tell us who we got coming up soon in a minute, Louise. So that's good. But before we start, I just want to have a quick shout out for an event that's happening on the 1st of December. So I'm going to pull up this little screen and there we go. So it's a business skills workshops and business training, business networking events, all on one day in the Cobra Club. It is on the 1st of December. We've got about 8 different workshops running. We've got networking events running, so if you want to find out more about that, I'll post that in the link, but you can find details at the Cobra Club. So that's good news. And plenty going on. Also, we want to say...
Can I just say a quick hello to Nick? Good morning, Nick, and to Tristan as well. Brilliant to have you on with us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Tristan. How are you doing? Get Tristan back on the show. He's always entertaining, and Nicholas and Graham. Let's get them all on. So it's all good. Right, Louise. So what I think we should do, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Do you think it's time to welcome our first guest?
I think it's time to welcome our first guest.
So. You introduce them, I'll roll a VT, and then afterwards they'll be in the room.
Right, super duper. Right, well, I would like to welcome the fabulous, oh my God, my tea maker's just arrived. I've got my fresh cup of tea. I'd like to welcome the fabulous Jaqui, who has an amazing business called Bee Fab Academy. And she's going to talk to us about what that is and why it's so important to her. And it should be important to all of us. Welcome, Jaqui.
All right.
Good morning, Jaqui. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know why, but whenever I'm introduced on screen, I always feel like I have to do a jazz hands. I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
We can do that.
Great to have you on the show,
Prove that
Jaqui.
you're more than head and shoulders.
Louise is going to sort of run some questions by you in a minute, but I wonder if you could first of all start with a little bit about your good self. Where you've been, how you've got to where you are with the Bee Fab Academy.
Okay, how far back do you want me to go? I mean, I was born. I could start there. But but as I'm very old, that would be a very long tale. Um, if I start with school, I struggled at school mainly because of bullying, but also because I couldn't always understand fully instructions and things that were given to me. And I've recently learned that's because I'm neurodiverse. So I'm starting to make sense of that now. But when I was 16, I was expelled from school. As I understand, all the best people are. There's a lot of famous people who were expelled from school, so I'm in good company. And I was expelled for the heinous crime of getting pregnant. And as it was only 1975, I was expelled. I brought the whole school into disrepute. The whole school. I brought the school down. Yeah, it was demolished several years later. I think that might be me. Anyway, and I left school expecting. I had my baby and everything, and I had no idea what sort of job I might be good at, because nothing at school had helped me to find my natural gifts and talents. So, I mean, I was good at English language, you know, that was about it. I was good at cookery, that was it. You know, I couldn't find any jobs that wanted that. So I just drifted into jobs over the years. I was a single parent, so I did a lot of part-time jobs and things. I started off as a sewing machinist, putting the flies in policemen's trousers. That was exciting. Until but then got made redundant. It was the mid to late 70s. So in my area, which was Swindon, industry was closing down. So, you know, you'd get yourself a job one minute, you'd be out of a job the next. That happened a lot over the next few years. And I just went into any job that I could get, really. But I never stuck at them, because once I'd learned to be competent in the job, I just got really bored. Just really bored. The longest I stayed in a job was 5 years as a betting shop manager. Part of that, though, was because I lived in a flat above the betting shop. So my flat was reliant on my job. So I stayed longer, partly because of that. So, and then I sort of fell into social care in my late 30s. So all of that time, when I could have been doing a job I loved, I wasn't. I was just going from job to job to job to job. And they were all entry-level jobs. Because I didn't have any GCSEs, I assumed that all I could do was entry-level jobs. Yeah. So that was all I applied for. So I was constantly on minimum wage, really. So by the end of my first shift in social care, I knew that that was where I belonged. That was where I was meant to be, and I've been there ever since. And as I say, I am very old, so that's a lot of years that I've been there, but I've been in various sections of it. And I started off entry level, frontline, working on elderly psychiatric ward as a care assistant. Moved into other areas of care, including younger adults. Moved into supported housing, which is different from care, but has a similar ethos and some elements and mixes with care. And I'd been in supported housing for less than a year when I became manager. A couple of years later, I became area manager, and I became a training manager, and, you know, a qualified trainer, an NLP coach. And it was like the world opened up to me once I found where I belonged. Yeah. Also, I was very fortunate to have a boss who was not protective of his position and happily trained me up to do his job.
Brilliant.
And further. So,
And
so
do you
then,
think that,
go on.
sorry, Dan, is this how the sort of, from this social care, getting assistance, is this how like the idea of the Bee Fab Academy sort of, how did that come
Absolutely,
about?
yeah. My last employed job in social care was working for the local authority, supporting people with barriers to employment to get into paid work. Now, I'd never done anything like this before. I didn't know whether I'd be any good at it. I'd done recruitment as part of my manager's job, obviously. And I've always got every job that I've applied for. So I'm really good at interviews. and my CV's good. So, and it's well written. So I just brought myself to the job, and I found that with the young people, just got on with them so brilliantly, because they're always up for a laugh, as I am. And so I used to say to them, they'd sit there and go, oh, nobody will ever employ me because I've done this, I've done that, or because I have a disability, or because I didn't pass my exams, or whatever it was. And I would just say to them, do you know what, though? You have fabulousness inside you. And they'd look at me like, this woman is insane. I'd go, everyone has fabulousness inside of them. And I guarantee you that by the end of this interview, we will know what your fabulousness is. And so we just have a conversation. And I would always focus on, you have natural skills and talents. And it doesn't matter if they don't appear to fit into a job, because they will. We just have to find where they fit. My natural skills and talent are interpersonal skills, which I only realized years after I needed to, really. Years after I needed to. And whatever, these psychometric tests and that always comes up, high interpersonal skills. And, when I left school, if I'd have known that, though, I still wouldn't have known what sort of work required that, Now I do. Now I know how lots of different skills fit into different jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we start, because I don't want to force them into a job that they're going to hate, because I've done a job that I've had to go to day in, day out, that I absolutely hated, that I felt incompetent at, didn't enjoy, but I needed the money, so I went. It's really hard. It's hard to drag yourself out of bed. It's hard to enjoy time outside of work, because all you're thinking about is, God, I've got to go back. And it's not because the job's bad. It's just that it doesn't suit you.
Yeah.
Is there more things that employers could do, is there, Jaqui?
I suppose there is, really. One of the things that's has become quite popular, and is to have workers' forums, staff forums, employee forums, whatever you want to call them. Now, in some companies, they do that, and they use it to replace a union. I don't advocate that, but a staff forum that can just say, what is going to make you enjoy your job more? Because actually, when you start asking most employees, they're not costly things at all. They're often things like, it would be nice if someone actually thanked me for the overtime I do, or for getting something in on time, So one of the things that I think is really important is, we've got to stop promoting people into management without training them first. And that's what often happens. I know managers who didn't actually go on a management course till 5 years after they got the job. You know? And management is about people skills, isn't it? One of the things I realized when I became a manager in supported housing, I had 4 members of staff. So it wasn't a big service that I managed. It was 18 people with physical disabilities that we worked for. But I had 4 members of staff and they were all completely different. So I had to do their supervisions each month completely different. You know, one of them, she preferred that if you shot from the hip, which isn't natural to me. That's not who I am. But I made myself do it because it worked for her.
Yeah.
Had another one who just needed you to go softly, gently, because she was a bit sensitive in certain areas. I got to know what those areas were. So that's what I did. Another one who needed to have a long burst of telling me what she needed to tell me before we could. So you just learn, give these people what they want, what they need, you get more every single time. And, you know, no hierarchy. There was no visible hierarchy in our team. You know, they could lead a staff meeting if they want. They could do the agenda if they wanted. On one occasion, somebody had put on the agenda poor communication. So I said, okay, so somebody's put poor communication. Do you want to tell us what that is? And it was the one who shoots from the hip. And she said, well, actually, Jackie, it's you. It's great because people need to feel that they can be that honest at work. And then she went on to explain the particular incident that it was, what it made difficult for her. I realized that I'd completely made a boo-boo and had been thoughtless. So I apologized and made sure I didn't do it again. You know, really important. These things are really important.
So Jackie, please share with us, how did Bee Fab Academy come about and what does it do?
Well, it came about because I moved to Snowdonia, which is where I am. I would show you a mountain, but, you know, it's not visible at the moment because the clouds are really low. So the weather's not great. But I moved to Snowdonia just over a year ago and I wanted to have my own business. And so I looked at all the skills that I've developed over the years and what I enjoy doing. And more when I was working with these young people for the local authority, I thought, this is so bad. This is so bad that these people feel that nobody wants to employ them, because some of them have got some great skills, some amazing skills, but there's something that's going wrong for them at some point. So we need to find out what that is, and we need to find out how to fix that. And I started thinking more broadly about there's lots of what they call employability training out there, where you learn how to write a CV, you learn how to be in an interview. And I thought, actually, you could learn more about what makes a good interview if you also learn to do it from the interview side. You know? If you sort of put yourself in the place, okay, I'm recruiting for an engineer for, I don't know, an aerial company. So what am I going to need from that? So what questions am I going to ask? And thinking things through like that is going to help you understand the whole business of interviewing better. And it's more than just, why do you want to come and work here? Yeah. That's another thing I think people could do. Recruiters who are recruiting for an entry-level job that is putting cherries on top of Bakewell tarts, don't ask, why do you want to come and work here? It's a really unfair question. They need a job. come on, let's stop doing that whole, oh, I've always wanted to work in a cake factory and cherries are my favorite fruit. You know, let's stop doing that. That's another thing. So I developed a 2-week course, and the first week is actually the ignition course. And TJ Dow, who is on LinkedIn and easily found, she created Ignition, and she trained me to be an ignition coach. She is amazing, amazing. And Ignition is a fantastic, it's just a fantastic course. So I'm doing it as a course. I can do it as one-to-one coaching as well, and I do sometimes. So that's the first week. It's all about finding out who you really are. Where are your natural skills and talent? How much baggage have you got in your life that you need to find a way to leave behind? You know, and what's the luggage that you need to take forward on your journey in life? So it covers so much stuff. It's very confident building, and it uses lots of different techniques. And then the second week is all about work. All about work. So let's write a banging CV, a really brilliant CV. Let's not just make it a list of this, a list of that, a list of something else. And let's really focus on personal statement, hobbies and interests. Because people often, for hobbies and interests, put reading, walking, and we all sound so boring, don't we? Good grief. And the thing is, if you've not had a job before, as lots of these young people have, but you've been sitting at home, they want to know that you're not just sitting at home watching TV. You know, I would say daytime TV, but they don't need to watch that now, do they? Because there's lots of choice, Netflix or whatever it is. You know, and personal statement, change it for every single application and write it from the perspective of, you need me and this is why, rather than I'm a nice, kind, chatty person, I get on with lots of people. I mean, that's probably true, but that could work in loads and loads of different jobs, and in some jobs it won't work at all. So you know, you have to do it for each job. So in Bee Fab Academy, we have that course. We've got a project planned for the new year. I'm really, really excited about this because I'm gradually getting it together now. In January, we are getting a group of 6 young people in the area together, and we're going to start a business.
Ooh,
Brilliant.
exciting.
Don't know what yet. The young people will decide, and I've got people from within the Cobra Club, mostly, who are small business owners, who are going to do some mentoring online and some coaching and work with them and you know, give them the information that they need. Because one of the things that's often overlooked, especially at schools when it comes to career, is self-employment. And we live in a time when self-employment is really as equal an option as employment.
It seems like there's so many things that you don't learn in school that you should learn.
That's right.
Yes. There are lots of things, like, you know, how to complain about the shoes you just bought when they just broke. Things like that would be invaluable at school.
Yeah, all sorts, you know, the list just goes on.
That's right. Yeah. We're not taught about personal interaction.
No.
How to respond at different times in different situations. And so, you know, you come out of school and you've just spent God knows how many years mixing with your peers, you know, and you all talk to each other in lots of different ways, depending on how close you are to each other. But that way of talking is not necessarily appropriate in a workplace.
So, Jackie, how can employers be more supportive of young people, young applicants?
Well, I think, first of all, when it comes to the interview, think about the environment. This whole business of 3 people suited and booted sitting behind a big mahogany desk in high back leather chairs while the applicant gets to sit on a little desk chair, you know, with no arms on it and stuff like that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Make it comfortable. We know that you need to write things down. Can't you just get rid of the desk and use clipboards? Can't you just get some barriers out of the way and all have the same sort of chair? Stop making it hierarchical. That would be really good. Make it a welcoming sort of place, because if somebody's neurodiverse, how the chair feels to them, the texture of things, the look of things is really important to whether they feel comfortable or not. If somebody has a disability, you have to take that into account. If they're a wheelchair user, for instance, make sure that the door to the interview room is wide enough for a wheelchair to get through. It's nothing more embarrassing than being invited into somewhere and you just can't get through. And you're already nervous enough.
Yeah.
Because anyone who thinks that interviews are not nerve-wracking is missing something. They're the scariest thing. When I was interviewed for the senior manager job at the Housing Association, I always remember this. I had to prepare absolutely cacking it. And I went to head office the night before. I stayed in a B&B. I went in uber early, saw a friend of mine, did my presentation at him 3 times, whether he liked it or not. Try and get some good feedback and practice and all of this. And then when the CEO called me in, it's a small housing association, so the CEO was one of the interviewers. He calls me in and he goes, "Come on in, Jackie, just relax and enjoy it." I remember thinking, are you insane? You have to do more than just smile at people. You have to do something about the environment. Yeah? Time. People often get told this interview will take half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever the time is, depending on the job. Okay? Be prepared for it to take a little bit longer. Give the applicant time to think through the question you just asked to make sure they're giving you the answer you're looking for. Because I've supported so many young people on interviews and they've wanted to answer so quickly that they've not answered the question they've been asked. And then when they realize that, everything goes downhill from there, you know? And thirdly, don't force a handshake. Don't put your hand out for somebody to shake. If they put their hand out to you, then do it. But be aware that for a lot, high numbers of young people now suffer from anxiety. And a lot of that's come about because of COVID. And most young people who are neurodiverse will have anxiety issues. Shaking hands is really, really difficult for somebody with anxiety. I've struggled with it my whole life and it's felt so fearful and it's really hard for me to overcome it. So, you know, when you put your hand out, no, just open the door and say, "Hi, come on in." You know, just do the "come on in" sort of thing. Because physical touch is an anxiety issue for lots of young people. You know, there's a lot more. There's a lot more. Yeah, maybe try to remember when you were their age and what it felt like. And instead of thinking to yourself, well, I had a real horror first job interview, so I'll give them an even worse one. No, think to yourself, mate, I'm going to do everything I can to give them the best opportunity.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you, Jackie. That's a great point. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but if I was a young person how does it work? How do I get hold of you? What do I do? What's the process?
Well, I'm on the internet. My website is Bee Fab Academy.co.uk. There it is. There's my telephone number. Bee Fab Academy is also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm not quite a TikTok sensation. Got quite a way to go, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's good. I've seen your content. It's good.
But I am working on it. So there's lots of different ways to contact me. And there's my email address, Jaqui@beefabacademy.co.uk, and my phone number. Just give me a call.
Yeah,
just give me a call.
Any young person sort of anxious about getting into work or needs some help, assistance, then head over to Jackie's site, contact Jaqui on social media, and it's up to people to take that first step, isn't it? And some of that first step is about asking for help, and you are one of the people here to help them. So we applaud you for that, Jaqui, and thank you ever so much for coming in today. Sadly, we've run out of time, but we will do it again sometime. And next time we'll do it even more. But all I can say for the moment is thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. All right, take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Jaqui.
Back in the room, Louise. Back in the room. Well, that was really good.
But it is only
I love Jaqui. She's full of energy, isn't she? She's a great role model for youngsters out there for sure. Tristan really agrees. So Tristan's up for that. So guys, if you know youngsters out there that you feel that they need some direction, some purpose, or whatever it is, and that you want to try and help them get into employment. I've seen it with my own youngster. It's a different world from when we were out there. They do need assistance and they do need help and support. And so push them down the route to Jaqui if you're struggling, and she will take care of them. Right, Louise, I think it's time for you to introduce our next guest.
You right, okay. Well, I am delighted to introduce Naomi Johnson, who has a fabulous business called The Profile Company. Welcome, Naomi. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello. Good to be with you.
Hi, Naomi. Welcome to the Gritty Business Show, and great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So maybe Louise can start the questioning this time.
Yes. So, Naomi, what is The Profile Company?
Well, I write LinkedIn profiles for people to position them as the go-to expert in their industry. And then behind and with that is also to coach them to actually establish their business in the right way so LinkedIn can work for them. Because often they are missing a lot of the joining pieces. And it's why when people go on these wonderful training courses that teach people how to use LinkedIn, some people get results and some people don't. And the people that don't get results, I can pretty much diagnose why very, very quickly. And it's all the fundamental structures behind the business as well. So we coach people in that as well.
So you're here, sorry, Louise, you're here to bust some myths today about LinkedIn, aren't you?
I am, yeah, I am.
So, I suppose my first question would be, does LinkedIn work for everyone? Is this part of the social media myth? If it's not working, have I not got the right trade that works on LinkedIn? I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So, yeah, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media, if I'm honest, because it's got to pay. It's got to bring business in, hasn't it? Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? So if you're constantly putting content out there, but you're not seeing any interaction and inquiries coming in, then there's a problem. A lot of posts that get a lot of traction these days tend to be ones that have a personal element, a little bit of a confession of something they've done, or confession about their mental health or something like that. And it looks really good to get 10,000 interactions, but I do ask you, how many new clients did you get from it? And yes, it does feel like sometimes people are selling their souls to get this interaction that actually goes nowhere at all. So it is something that has to be really deeply considered, and it is about finding the right platform for your audience, and that is to understand your audience and understand how they might use the internet. So if you are someone of corporate clients, the last place you should go is Facebook, because even though they're on it, the last thing they want to do is be approached in their personal time. LinkedIn would be the place to come. And then if you're having a very personal conversation, perhaps about teenagers and whatever, that's not a conversation people are going to come onto LinkedIn and say, oh, this about me, because then that's going out to their professional network. So they're not going to engage. So you have to be really clear, who's your audience and where is your audience, and then choose your platform from there. But then even saying that, you might put different content up and not invite people to share their trauma with their teenagers on LinkedIn. But you can find the people who can introduce you and connectors, and so it is important to have a presence on both, even if you're not active all the time on LinkedIn itself.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. So how do you create a LinkedIn profile that has prospects who come to you pre-sold
and ready to buy? Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one. So firstly, you want to be really clear about the problem that you solve in your industry. And then you want to be aware that nobody cares about you until you become interesting to them. So with that, as soon as someone lands on your profile, you have to set context. What is the conversation we're here to have? How easy is it for someone to go, oh, right, okay, we're here to talk about human resources. We're here to talk about telephone warehouse, whichever angle, the making it or saving it angle you're going to go with. How easy and quick is it to do that? Now, LinkedIn has done a lot of squashing stuff in recent times. So like only 2 lines of this will show or 2 lines of that, which does mean that the banner image and the headline now play a bigger part than they did before, because you're asking people to come and click on it, and also to see it beyond your recent activity, which again, they've made that really huge. So you do all this work to get people to your profile, and LinkedIn does all this work to get people off of it, but actually really badly, because that activity, it might say, oh, congratulations, I really hope that you'd succeed at that. When I'm looking at it, I can't even tell what you're talking about. So I'm definitely not going to be clicking on that to see who you're talking to or what you're talking to about. So it is not taking people off your profile, but it is taking up a lot of the eye, a lot of the space and what people are seeing. So we just need to get people to a position where they want to and can go deeper and find out more. So I always say to people that the photo is like looking across the room and going, oh, there's a nice looking person that I would feel comfortable talking to. I come over, I ask your name, that is your name on your profile. And then I say, what do you do? And that's your one line, that's your headline. And it is good to have like a sentence in there, not just keywords, something about how the problem that you're solving, and then pretend to do some keywords as well. But again, think how easy is this to see? Does it come out really well? And putting dividers and things between those bits can be really helpful. So then once you've got that in place, hopefully you're starting a good conversation with people. And then it's about thinking, okay, now I'm in this conversation with you and you told me that one-liner. People are either going to stay or they're going to go. Because every time people are like, well, is this a good use of my time? How is this relevant to me today? And if they're getting to know you and curious about you, they will read something before they decide they don't want to read anymore. So that first paragraph in your about section is actually really important. And it's about using that to set context to the problem you solve. So this isn't about saying, I do this and I like doing this, because people don't care about you. What we want to do is we want to outline what the problem is in a way that has a person go, I hadn't thought of that before, so that they leave with that knowledge. So if they leave at that moment because they're not your ideal client, they're left with something to think about. And then when they bump into your ideal client in the pub or a networking event, we all like to look a little bit clever. And they come out and go, oh, well, have you considered such and such? And oh, did you know such and such? And so they're actually then passing on that awareness piece on your behalf. And it's also just embedding with everybody in your network what it is that you do. Because ultimately, the value of your network is about having people understand what you do, right? So that they can say, oh, when your topic comes up, they can go, oh, you need to speak to so-and-so. That's what it is, our name coming up in all the right conversations. So it has to be your name, and the trigger is what you do, or what you do triggers what your name is, so that people remember. So that opening paragraph is really important. And then it's using that then to that section, the about section, to build relationship. And so you want to speak in a very colloquial way, short sentences, nice and jumping around, sort of, so it feels like there's a rhythm of conversation. You also want to speak in a way that builds agreement. So thinking about what objections someone might have to what you've just written, and thinking, well, if actually I wrote it a different way, they wouldn't have object to it, they'd just agree with it. Or answering their questions before they ask them might be a better way of putting that. So they're like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, right, got it, oh okay, yeah, and they actually want to read through it, not like, why am I reading this? This is so boring, because they will just stop. And then with that as well, it's having short paragraphs, no more than say 3 or 4 lines, because the eye literally just cannot on the screen. It's a lot of work for someone to actually try and remember, like find their place. So you want to keep it really short paragraphs. It's really easy to find. And just another really key tip on that is don't put any words in there that are not associated with what you do, or at the end of a paragraph. So one time I gave someone a LinkedIn profile review, and I said, oh, so you do such and such. And he was like, no, why do you think that? And I said, because it says it on your profile. And he goes, no, it says I'm not this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, right. You've put a string of 3 words at the end of a paragraph with capitalized letters on them, which takes up quite a nice bit of space. And then you've got a 3-letter word saying not. Da-dun. I said, skimming, they're not going to see that not. So just don't put it in there. If a word is not associated with what you do, just don't put it there at all. Because people are being really fast about it, and they are really kind of skimming across the surface. And they'll read more and stop and really get into detail when they come ready. So I just thought there's another way I could have answered that question to pre-sold and ready to buy. But the LinkedIn profile, when you get down to the entry for the experience, this is a really important bit. By the time we've had this conversation in the about section, people are now like, should be, oh, this sounds really interesting. I could see myself working with this person. I wonder what working with them would look like. And that then brings them to your company entry, where you want to just take care of all the question marks and say, this is what the company does. This is who I am within the company. Great. This company does do what I've assumed that they do from what I've read. This person is the right person to speak to. And then you want to outline your packages, your big bells and whistles package, of why it's necessary, why it solves a problem. Not your benefits list. That can be on your website. But again, that kind of chatty problem solving, this is why we do this big package. So the person says, oh, wow, gosh, that sounds amazing. I'd love that. My goodness, wow. And then they'll go, oof, but I really don't know you. That would be too much, surely. And so then they read the next bit, which is a product prospects, which if you are a consultant in your first one, say 20 grand or £50,000, big piece like of work that would take a year, for example, then the product prospects one would be something like a £500 to £5,000 product, where it's like an assessment, so we can actually see what the problem is, and then a call to action. So the reason I say that is that it's an easier first step for someone. So they go, actually, I could do this consultation piece and then see if we need to do more and pay X amount for the year. But again, they're going to step back and go, oh, but I wouldn't just go into that. I can't just spend that for someone I've just met on a LinkedIn profile. And so that's when we want to offer them a call to action, which is book an appointment with me. and then they will then they can come through and book that time with you. So it'll go to a landing page, and then it will tell a little bit more about what the conversation includes, so that people feel confident with it, because it is them coming to you, being vulnerable, sharing their private information about themselves and their company. And also it could be the first time they've ever vocalized what the problem is. And so you are going to bring them, you're going to give them a transformation just in that phone call. So you need to like set it up that this is a safe place and a valuable use of their time. And they are going to get some signposting that's like useful from that conversation, not just all right, okay, yeah, here's a sales pitch, you know. So those pieces are really, really important. And what happens there when a person can book in an appointment, the fact that they can do it without connecting with you, because if they connect with you and it takes you 5 days to connect with them, and then you reach out to them and say, hey, why did you ask me to connect? Then they might just be like, oh, I've forgotten now, or I'm just not that interested now. And then if they have to say something to you about what they're interested in, they might feel really uncomfortable. And like they might want to, for example, with me, take a free LinkedIn profile session, but they don't want to just come straight out and say, oh, can I take you up on your offer? So we actually just don't want to leave people in a position where they have to think what that message would be and then wait for us to come back. You want the person to respond straight away. And we had a brilliant example of this where, in fact, I've had it with 4 different corporates now, where the person has been given a remit to look at LinkedIn profiles. In the evening, they've got onto their computer and are looking around, come across my profile, and in that moment booked an appointment and had an appointment with me within a few days. In one case, he was looking at 11 o'clock at night and he was speaking to me at 11 o'clock in the morning. And then we were in his offices, at Canon we were at their offices Monday the next week. So you've got to think that people are 24/7 on LinkedIn, and when they want to take action, they want to take action, and give them that ability. And then what happens is when they're booked into that appointment and you've created this awareness with them, instead of being in a new awareness going, oh yeah, that might be why our HR might be having a problem, we could be doing better. Instead of them having this big wide open conversation and sourcing like anything, because when you it's like when you suddenly become aware of a brand new car, a new type of car, you see them everywhere when you haven't spotted them before. So it's exactly the same for someone. They become aware of this thing and then they enter into like 20 different conversations within a week about that topic because it's resonated with them, it's in their awareness, and suddenly they're just having all these conversations. So when you leave someone wide open, you leave them wide open to your competition, or to just get distracted and do something else. But when they're booked into an appointment with you, what happens is that their awareness translates into a conversation that they're having with themselves. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. And I hadn't thought, I could do this, I could do that. I'll have to ask Louise when I speak to her, actually. So now they're in a conversation with you from the time of booking the appointment to the time they've had the appointment. They're in a conversation with you thinking, would this work for me? What would that look like? Would I enjoy this? Could I afford this? Is this a good use of my budget? And then when they come on the call with you, they know that the answer is pretty much yes, otherwise they wouldn't have shown up. And they're really receptive to what you've got to say. And when you diagnose what the problem is and say, yes, I can help, and you present your packages, you're not presenting something that's come left field that they've never heard of before. And they think, oh gosh, I have to go away and think about that, which translates to, can I see myself doing that? Do I like the idea of that? Is that what's right for the business? Do I want to invest? Can I afford it? All of those questions are already taken full care of because they were already aware of it and thinking it through before you sat down together. And so that is how you do your profile. So the people come to you pre-sold, ready to buy.
Wow, that's very comprehensive.
Yeah. So maybe what we should do is, because there's a lot of information there, is to recap. What do you think, Louise? Recap on your 3 top tips. So what I'll do, Naomi, I'll roll this VT, and when we come back, so what are your 3 top tips for your LinkedIn profile? So here we go. So it's
all right. Oh, okay. 3 top tips will be to consider that nobody cares about you until you become relevant to them. So really lead from yourself and what's in it for the reader. Make sure that it's visually appealing with the good banner, the headline, like as I said about the context, and break those paragraphs up so that they're easy to read and it looks like you've taken care of it. And the third one would be, if you're not clear about your packages, you need to get clear of them. And that's what I would help people solve. But having a way for people to book an appointment with you so that they can skip, reaching out to connect, or maybe you just get a new follower, which probably you wouldn't even notice that you've got a new follower. And often that doesn't actually translate into much. So if someone can get really excited about working with you and book in right there and then, and the thing with the review is it's not a 15-minute consultation, for example. It's got to be something that is tangible, that they get value from, that they can get excited about, and you can control the conversation, because I am providing you a LinkedIn profile review. I am providing you a review of how you're saving money on your utilities, for example. When you come with that offer, you can control the conversation. When it's a 15-minute, it's a little bit like, well, what's the structure? What are we here to talk about?
So, Naomi, Graham's got a question, and this leads into the sort of last bit, really, about sort of, how people work with you. But Graham's question, do you do a free check on LinkedIn profiles?
I do, Graham. I do. If you go to the profile company, the profile.company, you'll see on there that you can book in for a free review on the 3 options. It's a 30 minutes via Zoom, and I will walk through each section of your LinkedIn profile with you and ask lots of questions about what you do and how you do it, and then give you really tailored advice, which you're very welcome to go away and use that advice for yourself, or you can have a conversation with me about how I can do it for you. So, no obligation.
Brilliant. And you also, you do LinkedIn workshops, and you're doing an event next month, aren't you, with the Cobra Club?
Yeah, we're doing a LinkedIn surgery. So this is really important because we all have questions on LinkedIn of how to do certain things. And what can happen in a lot of training is you get told a lot of things, and then you're left to go and figure out how to use it for yourself. The surgery is about you coming along with any scenario that you've got going on, whether it's a prospect that's sent you a message, a post that isn't working, anything with your strategy or profile. Come along and ask that question. I will give my best thinking to it, but then I'm also going to open it up to everybody else in the group to share their best thinking. Because at the end of the day, everybody is a user of LinkedIn. Everybody is therefore part of your audience. And also we've all got time and experience on LinkedIn. So we all actually, for something that's so like the Wild West, we've all got something we can share. And I think it's really important that everybody can build their own confidence in it and realize they do know quite a lot actually. And just give their perspective. So it's like come with a very practical thing you're doing, and then I will say what I reckon, and then we'll open it up to the group and see, has anyone else got anything they want to add? And then go on to the next project, the next problem. So
brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to that, and I'd recommend anyone coming along. You can either contact Naomi, or if it's through the Cobra Club, just drop us a line at www.thecobraclub.co.uk, and we'll make sure you get into that session. So really, I want to say thank you, Naomi. We've sort of run out of time. It's amazing how quick the time goes.
Yeah.
It's just flown past today. But thank you. I think we've learned a lot, and just really interesting. So we'll definitely have to get you back in the future. Would you agree, Louise?
Yeah, likewise. You packed an awful lot of knowledge and information in a short space of time. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
On the website, there's also a template people can come and download as well. So you can get a free template, and that template will link out to pages on my website that teach you how to do certain sections of the profile. So everyone's welcome to come and get that. There's also the review you can sign in for. And then when I mentioned about the foundations in the business, that there's also a scorecard there. You can come along and assess whether you've got those foundations in your business as well. So there's 3 different things you can do there that will really help you move forward with your profile. Brilliant.
Thank you, Naomi. We'll look out for that. And we'll come back after this VT. This VT is about the property club that's happening next Friday. So I'll roll this VT, and then Louise and I will follow off for the end. So see you later, Naomi. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was it was a detached hand.
Yes,
Just
we've never had
arrived
that
on
live
screen.
on the show before, but all good. Anyway, that was a great guest, Naomi, there, and yeah, just learned a lot there. Really, just go and reassess things, I suppose. Yeah, you enjoyed yourself, Louise?
Very much. I've really enjoyed it. It's a really buzzy session. So thank you. And I've learned a lot.
So what we're going to do now, Louise, we are rapidly running out of time. We're going to roll through the networking events. So when I hit this button, I'll go first, and just make sure you unmute your mic. So here we go. Let's hit this button when I find it. Okay, Cobra events for next week. Starting off with Monday after Ed's 2-week extravaganza in Barbados. Monday motivation kicks off at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Then we have the fabulous Believe and Achieve meeting with Nicholas Holmes, which is all about well-being and wellness.
Fantastic. Next up is the Cobra Coffee Collective with Christy Norris and Hannah Matarazzo every Monday from 3:30 p.m.
Then we have Monday Mayhem at 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. with the fabulous Zaf.
Awesome. Next up, we have Quest West with Judith West in the Southwest. Everything's West, but that's every week, weekly on Tuesdays from 10:30 a.m.
And then again on Tuesday, we have between 3 and 4, David McKenna with the Business Quiz.
Awesome. Always a bit of fun. Next up, we have the Accountability Hub for Small Business Owners, the Make It Happen Hub with Elaine Atherton. Sales and accountability every Wednesday, 9 a.m.
I just have to say that's one of my favourite meetings. And then David Lockett presents the Investment Lounge, and that's at between 10 and 11 on Wednesday mornings.
Awesome. Next up is Meeting Talents every Wednesday night. Next one we've actually got is a live event, so that's happening next week actually. So that's Meeting Talents.
And then we have the Jigsaw Hour with our fabulous Yvonne Taylor, and that is 9 to 10 on Thursday mornings.
Okay, next up is the Networking Business Generator with Kath Kirkland every Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m.
Then we have Chris Mason with the Cobra Strike meeting, and that's also on a Thursday between 1 and 2.
Awesome. Next, go on, please.
Oh gosh, that looks familiar. That's my group, which ran this morning, and it's called First Thing Friday, and it runs every Friday morning, 8 o'clock to 9. Back to you, Andrew.
Cobra Express with Mr. Alan Cadden every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m.
And then we have Sharon Ritchie running Loose Women on the Wind Down, and that is 4 to 5:30 on Friday afternoons.
Awesome. Next Friday is our monthly property club event, which is at 10 a.m. So details to follow on LinkedIn. So come and get involved if you're property or construction.
And then we also have mixer hours. And when do they run, Andrew?
Throughout the course of the week, most days really.
Yeah.
Yeah, unhosted. But come and join us. But where do people go, Louise?
Well, they go to thecobraclub.co.uk.
There it is, running across the bottom
There
of
it
the
is.
screen.
Perfect.
Awesome. So if people want to get hold of you, Louise, how do they do that?
Well, you can get hold of me through the Cobra Club. You can get hold of me through LinkedIn. That is only the one and only Louise Montblatt. Or you can get hold of me on my mobile, which may be running along the bottom. No. Get hold of me through LinkedIn. Easiest route.
Let's see if it works. Yes. Okay, all right. So I want to say thank you to Louise for co-hosting the show. It's been fabulous having you. I want to say thank you to Naomi Johnson from the Profile Company, and I want to say thank you to Jaqui Barnes-Monaghan from the Bee Fab Academy. So awesome show, and we'll see you next week. Well, I think Kath Kirkland's our co-host next week. So we've got some fabulous guests of Mr. Mark Wingfield and Christy Norris will be on the show too. So looking forward to that one. So all that does is leave us to say goodbye. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Yeah.